In today's Farm Report, falling crop prices and farm incomes may cause a major fall in the value of farmland and in cash rents. The USDA's Gary Crawford has the latest.
Many agricultural economists have been predicting for well over a year now that with a sagging farm economy, ag land values would fall. So where are we with that?
It depends.
On your location and circumstance. The opinion of Kevin Papp, a corn and soybean producer in Minnesota and president of the Minnesota Farm Bureau, one of several people testifying the other day before a House Ag subcommittee. And indeed, it must depend on things like location, the quality of the land itself, and what it's used for. Now, in Kevin Papp's state of Minnesota,
Land prices certainly have not come down like commodity prices have.
And in Arkansas, where Dow Brantley grows rice, cotton, corn, and soybeans.
Land prices in our area have not come down. If anything, they've gone up the first quarter of 15.
And Steve Verrett, a cotton, sorghum, and wheat producer from Texas, says at least so far,
I would say they're flat.
But in the Boot Heel of Missouri, farmer and bank executive Paul Combs says
the land prices have softened anywhere from 10 to 15%. Rents have come down.
And Dr. Nathan Kaufman with the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City says,
in the heart of the Corn Belt, we are starting to see land prices soften on the order of about 10%.
But the Agriculture Department's acting chief economist, Rob Johansson, told us that having overall farmland values dropping below what they were the year before, that is a pretty rare thing.
Looking back over the last 13 years or so, the only time that they actually did lose value relative to the year before was after the Great Recession in 2009. We can go back, look in previous years and see other occasions when that's happened, like such as in the 80s.
So it does happen, but not very often. But he says it is possible. As to why some areas are seeing no downturn in land values yet, Johansson says it's not something that happens all at once.
It is also something that lags a little bit in terms of what you see on the commodity prices. Land values are certainly negotiated between the landowner and perhaps their leasee for a year, maybe even longer time, and certainly those producers can also lock in prices for the commodities. So there is a little bit of stickiness in how fast land values will be changing.
But he says we may see further changes as we go through the year, and all the witnesses at the hearing agreed with the Federal Reserve Bank's Dr. Nathan Kaufman.
There could very well be further pressure on cash rents and farmland values to adjust to the lower profit margins.
In Washington, Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
As we move into June, there's a transition in temperature patterns. USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says areas that have been cool are turning hot and vice versa.
Some of the most significant heat right now is focused across the western and especially the northwestern United States.
Monday, June 8th, featured some record-setting heat in the northwest.
A couple of sample high temperatures. Medford, Oregon, soaring to 105 degrees. Temperatures above 100 degrees as far north as Washington State, east of the Cascades. And that does set a number of records for this time of year for that part of the country.
The heat is expanding eastward.
And over the next several days, we'll see some of the hot weather that's been building over the central U.S. shifting into the east, and that will be replaced in the central U.S. by cooler conditions.
The warmer weather is promoting rapid crop development, but excessive heat can be damaging. For USDA Radio, Susan Carter, Washington, D.C.
Biosecurity measures are essential for a healthy and clean operation, regardless of the size, especially with the spread of the H5N2 virus. Susan Carter with the USDA gets the 411 on chicken coop rules and the growing coop trend with backyard flocks.
With recent cases of avian influenza H5N2 in the states of Arkansas, Kansas, Minnesota, Missouri, and North and South Dakota, Dr. Catherine Wotecki, Undersecretary for USDA Research, Education, and Economics, visited a backyard poultry flock in Decatur, Georgia.
4 families in the neighborhood have built a chicken coop. They've got a small flock that they raise for eggs.
During their tour, Dr. Wotecki and a representative from the local Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service National Poultry Improvement Program discussed biosecurity.
How do you keep those backyard chickens healthy, and how do you protect them from introducing infectious diseases?
Actually, it's quite basic and simple.
Making sure you use a dedicated set of boots or disposable booties. Be sure to wash your hands before and afterwards.
And in addition to regular coop cleanings,
keep your backyard flock separated from wild birds
who may be carrying diseases. Now, if for some reason you happen to find sick or dead birds in your backyard flock, Here's some things that you need to do to leap into action.
Report them to your veterinarian. You can report them directly to APHIS or to the state veterinarian. It's very important that sick animals and an unexpected death rate be reported just to check up, see if there is an exotic disease that's causing the problems, so that the rest of the backyard flocks and larger commercial flocks will be protected.
There are some things, though, that you need to know regarding rules. First, before even embarking on having a backyard chicken coop.
The rules vary from state to state and community to community. So if you're thinking about starting a backyard flock, you need to check with the local rules and regulations.
If you're still game, for many, having a backyard chicken coop goes well beyond having fresh eggs at the ready.
I also think that they get a lot of personal enjoyment from it. They enjoy being around the animals. It's a good opportunity for the family to do something together. So yes, it's about the eggs, but it's also about community and family.
Another part of the sustainability aspect is also controlling where your food comes from.
People are more and more going to establish a small flock and a coop in their backyard.
The popularity of backyard chicken coops is really growing.
There are approximately 7,000 across the country households that are maintaining backyard flocks, and that the numbers are continuing to increase.
For USDA Radio, Susan Carter, Washington, D.C. Thanks to the wet May we had this year, pasture and rangeland is significantly improving. USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey looks at information from the National Climatic Data Center.
It turned out to be the wettest U.S. month on record, going back to the beginning of record keeping in 1895. So not only the wettest U.S. May on record, but the wettest month all time for the United States.
Rippey says such rainfall brings about lush pasture and rangeland conditions.
Looking at the U.S. numbers now, only 10% of the pasture and rangeland rated in very poor to poor condition, and we only see 5 states that have that number greater than 20% at this point, those being North Carolina, Montana, Colorado, Nevada, and California.
On the flip side,
the good news is that we have 63%, almost 2/3, rated good to excellent at this time, and that's up 2 percentage points from last week.
In the last 21 years, the only other times conditions have been this well, 1995, 99, and 2010. For USDA Radio, Susan Carter, Washington, D.C.